There's a moment in existentialist philosophy where a man stops asking, "Who am I?" and starts deciding who he is. Sartre called it radical freedom. Camus called it the absurd hero, the man who keeps pushing the boulder up the hill, not because he'll win, but because the pushing itself is the only proof he exists. In 1975, a broke, half-paralyzed-faced actor named Sylvester Stallone was offered $250,000 for a script he wrote in 3.5 days. All he had to do was hand it over and let someone else, a real star, play the lead. He said no. That decision is the entire subject of the film we're dissecting today. Not Rocky, the film about the man who refused to let Rocky exist without him inside it. Here's the detail that should unsettle you before we even talk about frame composition. Stallone found out this film about his own life was happening from the press. Not a phone call, not a producer's meeting, a headline. Sit with that irony for a second, because it's not gossip. It's the film's entire thesis, hiding in the production notes. A movie about a man who fought to control his own narrative was, at least initially, made without his authorship. The subject became, once again, an outsider to his own myth. If Stallone's whole life was Nietzsche's will to power, the insistence that you author your own story rather than have it authored for you, then this is the universe running the same test on him twice, 40 years apart. Director Peter Farrelly and writer Peter Gamble didn't shoot a standard biopic. Multiple people close to the production have described the approach as closer to The Social Network. Not here is a nice man who succeeded, but a production war film. The enemy isn't a villain, it's a system. United Artists who wanted Robert Redford's face on the poster, not some unknown Brooklyn nobody with a slur in his speech from a birth injury. This is where the film gets philosophically dangerous, and I mean that as the highest compliment, because the trailers show something almost transgressive. The original Rocky's most sacred images, the training montage, the run through the streets, the raised fists, are restaged shot for shot inside this new film. That's not fan service. That's Baudrillard simulacra walking straight onto the screen. A copy of a copy that insists it's more real than the original, because now you're watching the making of the myth instead of the myth itself. Cinema eating its own tail. Now look at who's wearing Stallone's face. Anthony Ippolito. This isn't his first resurrection job. He already played a young Al Pacino in The Offer, another actor who clawed his way into a role the studio didn't want him for, in another film about impossible artistic stubbornness getting made anyway. Think about what that does to an actor's body of work. Ippolito isn't building a career playing characters. He's building a career playing the moment before legend, the vessel that holds a myth before it hardens into stone. In Jungian terms, he's becoming an archetype in himself, the threshold guardian who is also the hero, standing in the doorway between an unknown man and the icon history will remember. And now the anecdote that should genuinely disturb you, because it's not trivia, it's the film's spine. While shooting the original Rocky, the crew survived on pizza and burgers because there was no money for anything else. They shot on the streets of Philadelphia without permits, guerrilla filmmaking, stealing shots before anyone could stop them. This wasn't an aesthetic choice. It was desperation, weaponized into style. That's the Nietzschean insight buried in fast food and stolen locations. Constraint didn't limit the myth, it manufactured it. The shaky, unglamorous rawness of 1976 Rocky isn't a flaw the studio tolerated. It's the visual signature of a man with nothing left to lose. And I Play Rocky is built entirely around dramatizing that exact tension, the gap between poverty and conviction. Here's how I'd read the film's likely editing grammar, based on what the marketing has shown us. Expect parallel cutting, not unlike Coppola cross-cutting the baptism against the assassinations in The Godfather. Here, the parallel isn't murder against ritual, it's the recreation against the original. Ippolito's run through the meat market, intercut, in rhythm with Stallone's actual 1976 footage, closing the 50-year gap through montage instead of narration. And the color grading tells you exactly where you are emotionally without a single line of dialogue. Early scenes, desperation, rejection, the string of no's from every studio, sit in cold, undersaturated blues and grays. The closer the film gets to Stallone winning his impossible bet, the warmer the palette turns. Amber, gold, the visual language of a Philadelphia sunrise. Light itself becomes the film's verdict on the man. And then there's the ending this story was always building toward, whether the film shows it directly or lets it hang in the credits. Charlie Chaplin, the man who invented the tramp, who beats impossible odds by sheer stubborn dignity, personally inviting Stallone to his home after Rocky's success. The silent era underdog blessing the sound era underdog. That's not two celebrities meeting. That's cinema recognizing its own recurring myth across 50 years. The outsider who refuses the money and takes the bet on himself instead. So here's the question I want you sitting with after this video. If Stallone's entire legend was built on refusing to let anyone else tell his story, what does it mean that, once again, in 2026, someone else had to tell it first? Go the distance.